Hey y'all! I wanted to do something a little different today, so I'm going to do a crafting tutorial for dungeon tiles that you can use for your tabletop role-playing games. So you're going to want to start with this. It is Ready Board. It is the foam core board that you can buy at Dollar Tree. It is dirt cheap. And you want it so that you can remove the paper, because the paper peels off of this Ready Board really easily. And once you peel that paper off, you'll actually expose a soft layer of foam that takes tooling and carving really well. So the first thing you're probably going to notice is that I start with an imperfect curved edge. So I'm just going to grab an X-Acto knife, and I'm going to very slowly but deliberately use the back of the straight edge. You can use anything that you know is straight here to line up your knife, and just slice that sheer. And you'll see when you pull your straight edge away, you have a nice, sharp, straight line. Now, assuming your lining tool has a good right angle, you're going to use that new straight line to index off of, so that you can get a straight line on the other side. Now you can see mine's pretty close, but I would like it to be perfect. So I'm just going to maneuver myself in a way that makes it really hard to film, and very gently and slowly and deliberately trim off that excess, leaving behind a beautiful, crisp, and straight line and a perfect right angle that we can use to index our grid off of. At this point, using a straight edge or ruler, you're going to check your marks at 1 1/4, 2 1/2, and 3 3/4. You're going to line up on one of your fresh edges, and you're just going to mark, again, 1 1/4, 2 1/2, and then 3 3/4, and you're just trying to get a little bit of a guide for yourself. You don't have to be perfect with this. You're going to move your straight edge or your angle or your ruler to the side, and just do that one more time. Again, close enough is close enough. You don't have to be precise here. So now we're going to make our first actual shaping cut. We're going to line up the back edge of our straight implement, or straight edge, right angle, ruler, whatever you have, and you're going to line that up with your 3 3/4 inch measurement, and you're just going to slice that sucker right off. Again, being careful not to mangle yourself in the process. It is shockingly easy with these kind of tools. Once you've done that, you'll rotate your piece 90 degrees and repeat. You'll notice that I was slightly off with one of my measurements when I drew it on here. That's fine. Measure once, YOLO. And now that you've got a perfect square, you will grab your straightening implement and you will start lining up your grid. To do that, you'll just line up the marks. I like to make little lines to guide my ruler. Then you'll take your X-Acto knife, and you don't want to cut all the way through. You just want to use the bare tip of this, because if you cut all the way through, you're going to end up with a 1 inch by 1 inch grid, and that's not exactly what we're looking for here. So you line up your cuts, and you just barely score the foam board. You move up to your next set of lines, and repeat the process. Once you've got those in, you'll rotate your piece 90 degrees, and using the measurements on the opposite side, you'll do the same. You'll notice that I'm using the inside edge of my straight edge here. That is to give me a little bit more meat to index off of with the right angle side. As long as you get pretty close, you're going to be satisfied. Nobody's going to come into your D&D session and say, hey, your grid is off by like 1/4 millimeter, and I think that means you're a bad dungeon master. And once you've got your grid cut in, you'll be able to just barely see, just where the light hits it, you can see your cuts. Now, to widen those out, I like to take a pen with a nice thick tip on it. And all you gotta do is line it up with the groove and widen that sucker out. Again, you're not trying to go all the way through. You're just trying to widen out that groove to add more definition to the line. Now the pen doesn't even necessarily have to have any ink in it because, again, you're not trying to necessarily mark it, you're just trying to widen the groove. Oops. Yeah. So if you make a mistake like that, finish widening your grooves, and then you can go in and just add a couple of squiggly lines, and boom. Now you've got a cracked tile in your dungeon tile. You can actually disguise that little accident by adding a couple of additional cracks to other tiles. There you go, that'll be our little secret. Now, after you finish that step, you can go ahead and use this tile as is. You can move on to the painting step and you'll be fine. But if you really want to make it look like this, which is a finished dungeon tile with all that snaggly texture, I recommend this, an aluminum foil ball. Now, this is tightly packed, but not so tightly that you lose the definition. You want to keep some of those little craggles in there. And then once you grab that, you're just going to roll it all over the piece, maybe bash it a little bit. This is an opportunity to really take out your frustrations on your project. Bash it a little bit. Ah, damn it, I added a crack that I didn't mean to add. Get in there, just roll it around, add a decent amount of texture, and eventually you'll end up with a fairly nice looking tile. Once you've done that, you might notice that your aluminum foil texturing has really closed those lines that you cut in back up. So, just take that pen and use that to reestablish your grid. Just widen those grooves right back out. Again, don't press too hard, you don't want to cut all the way through, but just reestablish that grid. And now we come to the problem. You see, TikTok has a hard limit of 10 minutes on video, so I couldn't show you the whole process here. What you've seen is just part 1. And if you'd like to see the painting in part 2, feel free to come back.